The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been 3 long weeks. I think the beer I'm drinking might be skunked. We'll figure that out. Either way, I am so happy to be back with these two handsome gentlemen right here. If you do not know what this is the Amazing Korner with Podcast. We are back for season 9. I don't know how we made it to 9 seasons, but we're still fucking here somehow. And yeah, guys, somehow I actually retained my co-host this year. Between seasons between seasons 6 and 7, I lost a couple guys, gained a couple through between 7 and 8, and they've hung around, man. Welcome into season 9. Of course, I am your host, Jared Clem, alongside my amazing co-hosts, Mr. Matt Ordazzo, the TikTok sensation. This man had that car news on TikTok within 5 minutes of Rap Sheet's tweet. I don't know if I was more impressed or like just terrified with your dedication to getting TikToks out. I think you have a secret unholy addiction to it.
I think you'd be very impressed. I was not only working, I was booking a flight and posting the TikTok at the same time. So I was getting a flight through the hopper.
The skill right there.
Posting on TikTok and processing invoices.
Well, there you go. And also, ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend who helps me run our Twitter account, our resident Chris Collinsworth impersonator, and the only person I've ever worked with who contradicts me more than Kevin, ladies and gentlemen, our boy Mason. Fellas, I am so happy to see you both. I am so happy to talk football. I watched like 6 hours of film this weekend, and it made me feel happy. Yeah, my Tar Heels lost to Duke, but they're a bunch of fucking bums this year, so I don't care. Man, just good emotions all around. John Bones Jones is the heavyweight champion of the world. That was maybe the fastest fight I've ever watched in UFC, but I still enjoyed it. Also, by the way, if you are listening to this show, if you want to see our ugly faces, or at least they're my ugly face, they're two handsome faces, you can catch us on our YouTube channel. All replays of shows will be live on there within the following 48 hours. Gentlemen, it's a great show. We've got draft coverage. We've got combine reporting. We've got more NFL headlines than I can count, and it's not even March 15th yet.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
Listen, March 15th is like my Christmas, and this is amazing.
Oh, I look forward to it every year. I can't wait. It's there's a lot of things going. A lot of people that might be available that I didn't think would be available. You see like Derrick Henry getting shopped, Cortland Sutton getting shopped, DeAndre Hopkins. You're talking, Leonard Fournette's release. Joe Mixon might be cut. It's Adam Thielen might be cut if he's not restructured his deal. It just feels like the last handful of years we've seen more higher end free agents like pop into the free agency frenzy, and it's just all about is your team got enough money to spend.
What really cracks me up the most about this entire starts free agent frenzy is that a lot of stuff has kind of bubbled and then boom. The Derrick Henry thing, and I guess we'll start off with that one, with him being put on the trade block. Every year we're like, oh, running backs this, running backs that. But Derrick Henry, though. Now King Henry is now on the block, and I've heard Bills. I heard the Bears. And for some reason, my Eagles are now involved. And I said it in the chat to you boys, I'm like, just imagine the combination of DH, Kenny Gainwell, and Jalen Hurts running the football. Just call it on trying to stop that running game. I mean, it'd be great. And they're like, oh, he's owed $10 million. I'm like, on a 1-year punch, that's not bad for a running back who's going to rip you 1,400 yards if he's healthy.
No, he's like a 15 times better LeGarrette Blount for the Eagles.
He's LeGarrette Blount with a third gear. Like he can get down the field. Like Blount's biggest problem with his game was he had no top end speed. He was gonna barrel through you. He was probably in Madden, his highest speed rating was an 88. He would stumble through the line of scrimmage and start rumbling down the field. and then any cornerback or safety and their mother could catch up with him. But I mean, it'd be fun to watch him just run through people. I love it. If he goes to the Bills, and I think Matt, you said this. I mean, you guys are both AFC East fans, so I guarantee you guys don't want him in your division.
No, it's curious to see if they can get it done with him, or if it's going to be another one of those things where they just fall short again. But I mean, if you look at the rest of the AFC, I mean, you have the Bengals are stacked. The Chiefs honestly are not really stacked, but they just figure it out. Like, I don't think an offense like Kadarius Toney, Juju Smith-Schuster, Mecole Hardman is stacked, but they figured it out. So you have to figure out ways to compete with these competitions, and Derrick Henry is would be an amazing fit for Buffalo. It's just a matter of, like I think it was Mason or somebody said, it's pretty much like Josh Allen's like RB1 for them. So I mean, they're probably looking for somebody to take some pressure off of him, which Derrick Henry would be perfect. But I don't want to see him in my division at all, unless it's my team. Pair him up with Breece Hall would be amazing, but.
One of your 4,000 freaking running backs?
Yeah, him and Philly it would take a lot of pressure off Jalen Hurts, keep him a little healthier, wouldn't have to scramble as much. It would be amazing. Anywhere he goes, perfect fit for them.
I'm ecstatic for 3 reasons. I think that if the I think the best fit is Philly, because I think they're going to give him enough touches where he's going to get his production, but he'll stay healthy because they want to keep using Gainwell. They want to use Hurts. They will probably resign Boston Scott for 2 games out of the year when he has to beat the Giants. But besides that, like, the biggest, I think the Bills, I think that's too high profile for the Bills. They're too hell-bent on making James Cook their feature back. They'll probably go get somebody who's a little more banged up, maybe a guy like Singletary from the Bears, or maybe they go get a Miles Sanders. I don't know. Like, they're going to go get a guy who they can throw in a rotation because they are hell-bent on making this James Cook thing work. But they're probably not going to retain Naheem Hines. If they do, they're definitely going to have to restructure that contract. But I genuinely think that going forward, the primary landing spot is Philly, and it's really hard for me to say that shit because it's like I love seeing my team involved, but at the same time, it's like you kind of want to be objective with it.
Philly's just going to be taking every big time player from Titans going forward now. Last year's AJ Brown, this year's Derrick Henry.
Somewhere in some bar in Tennessee, John Robinson is drinking himself stupid. Mace, what do you think on this shit?
Yeah, I mean, with the Henry Bills kind of chatter, I feel like, we can remember back to a few months ago where McCaffrey was obviously on the block from Carolina, and they were in that final group of, 3 or 4 or 5 teams that were trying to get a deal done, and a lot of people felt like that made the most sense. I mean, obviously the Rams were there. San Francisco obviously ended up getting him, but definitely I feel like that would be a good fit because the Buffalo offense is super predictable. I think we can all agree on. Mainly pass heavy, don't really run the ball a whole lot. And, that's something that they could absolutely improve on. And, at that point, you have to think that if they add a guy like Henry, where is their weak spot, in terms of at least on offense, I think we all know that Henry, like you said, Jared, when he's healthy, I think a lot of us, me personally included, would probably say he's the best back in the league. I think when he's fully healthy, I mean, he's unstoppable. So we'll just have to see. I mean, Eagles are interesting just because I don't know if he's going somewhere where he's going to be splitting time. I think obviously we know he's going to go to like a contender, but I still feel like he wants to go somewhere where he's kind of the star of the show. I don't know if he's going to Philly where he's going to be splitting, handoffs with Gainwell or Boston Scott, like you said.
I feel like it's the only thing is with that is maybe he's starting to realize maybe he does need to get to give up 10 carries a game because of the fact that, like, I think he wants to play longer than 31 or 32, which most of these running backs are done in the league by then, especially power guys. I could see him playing for another 5-6 years. He goes to teams where he literally only has to get 15 to 20 max carries a game.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I feel like he's still in his prime in my mind. I guess next year we'll know. But I mean, just such a good player. Like, the only thing that really has ever held him back is literally if he's on the field or not. If he's on the field and they can run the ball efficiently, I mean, this guy might go for 200 yards and like 2 touchdowns, So it's just, yeah, I don't really see anything like, because I don't know who's going to take like a flyer on him. I guess it's not really a flyer, but basically use him as a 1-year rental. Besides a team like Buffalo, like the Eagles. I mean, do you feel like Sanders is gone?
Yeah, no, they're not. His Super Bowl performance kind of nailed his coffin shut because they were going to let him go going into the season unless he put up an all-pro year. He puts up a borderline all-pro year, but in the playoffs, he's fucking useless.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, in the regular season, he was pretty darn good.
But in the playoffs, our most useful running back was Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah.
Because Gainwell ran like his life depended on, where Miles looked like he had made his bag already. I was like, and then the fumble in the Super Bowl, even though we got the ball back, I was just like, all right, I'm done with this motherfucker. And also, like, there were a couple times there was holes, and he just wouldn't cut right. He cut left, or he'd run straight into him. And I'd watch Gainwell break 5 tackles and fall forward for 6 yards. I'm like, Miles has 30 pounds on this dude, and is just not even trying to run hard. And I think Howie and Nick were looking like, we can't be paying this guy the $15 million he's going to ask for.
I think a lot of maybe some people may not remember is Derrick Henry. Even though he gets hurt, like he still puts up like numbers. Like remember, like it was 2021. He had 937 rushing yards on the season. That was because he missed a bunch of time hurt. That was when he came back in the playoffs. He still was like top 5 in rushing for like 9 weeks
and missed half of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, if he would have played the entire season, obviously would have ran away figuratively and literally with the rushing title for sure. And I think honestly in that season probably would have been in consideration for MVP. Definitely offensive player of the year because the Titans were the 1 seed. Obviously people have their own thoughts on how good Tennessee was that year, but 2 years removed from that, I guess, definitely still an extremely formidable player who, is pretty much capable of anything, I think we would say. Like,
yeah, and to put into perspective just how valuable of a player he is and just how good of a player he is. So he's played in 7 full seasons so far. He's entering his 8th year. He has 8,300 rushing yards. And if you remember his first 2 years, he was playing behind DeMarco Murray. He had, 490 yards his rookie year, and his second year he had 744 rushing yards. Then in his 3rd year is when he topped 1,000. Then he had 1,500, 2,000, 900, 1,500. This dude's only been a primary running back for his team for maybe 5 seasons. And he's already got 8,300 yards rushing. So I think that just shows you how valuable this man can be for a team just because he has 200 and something rushing yard games more than anybody has. Like, it's not uncommon for Derrick Henry to have like 4 200-plus yard games.
Right.
And that's just scary because nowadays it's like some teams don't have running backs for years top 100 yards in a game or 1,000 yards in a season. This dude just does 200 and something yards every time he plays the Texans. Every single time. Well, it's insane.
Right.
So here's my hypothetical, guys. Let's say Philadelphia throws it, or let's say Buffalo or Philly, it doesn't really matter. I could easily see the Titans going, oh, hey, we have 2 first-round picks now. Oh, let's go spend our second one on that kid out of Texas who basically is a bullet train for a human being. Or maybe they go and wait a round and go get my boy Jahmyr Gibbs, or they go get one of these. There's like 5 under the radar running backs in this class. Everyone's talking about Bijan Robinson, but I was like looking at some tape because I kind of got a little greedy. I'm like, there's like 6 good backs in this class that, like, if they're in the right system, could just kill it. Not like where I'm like, oh, James Cook looks fun. It's like, no, these guys honestly could be good in about 7 or 8 good systems. So I feel like the Titans would spend a first on Bijan, and then they would try to see. But I think, honestly, though, I don't know what the hell the Titans are going to do. I don't know, because Malik Willis is not the answer. Okay, he looked awful. Not like he needs some work awful. He looked awful. Like, I watched Dennis Dixon on Monday Night Football against a top-flight Ravens defense with better numbers. And make better
he's
reads.
bad. He's bad when the line on him was over under like 100.5 passing yards, and he had like 80.
Dude, that shit scared me. I'm like, wait, what is this line now?
I remember seeing that. I was like, that seems too easy to take the over, and I just like let it play out, and he had like 80 yards passing.
Didn't we do a Monday Night Football same game parlay where, like, we were like, oh, he's got to throw over 100 and something yards, and then he threw for 86. I'm like,
yeah,
that was
I think it was when he
bitch.
played the Chiefs.
I think it was a Thursday night, maybe.
It was Thursday.
I think they played the Chiefs, and they actually came a decent game.
What I will say before we get too off topic, we got to give Malik a little bit. We got to cut him a little bit of slack, because there is the glaring issue of the Titans wide receiving core being probably bottom 5 in the league. I mean, it's terrible. And the fact that I don't remember if Henry was healthy for that specific game, because he did miss some games last year. But, I mean, dude, like, that offense is so predictable that, they're running the ball at least twice on every single, I guess, series. And then, so what? They're going to throw with a rookie quarterback who's just going to, pretty much getting thrown in the deep end. So, hey, I just want to come to Malik's defense there before we get before it gets too out of control. I think he could be a good prospect.
I think, yeah, but he's going to need to sit behind somebody. I honestly think Aaron is going to be in taking snaps in the I guess Carolina Blue and Navy next year. I think they trade a first round or 2 first rounders for Rod. They do something incredible. They use one of those first round picks from Henry to go get Rodgers. And they will draft a back in the second round, maybe Robinson, maybe Gibbs. Maybe they go get one. Maybe they see if they can get Dalvin Cook in free agency. Or wait, is he a free agent? He's got 1 more year left on his deal.
I think he's got 1 more year, but like a good example would be like Saquon. It's sounding like the tag is not going to get or from what I've been seeing, it's that he will not play under the tag. And there's sort of the uncertainty with Daniel Jones.
The Daniel Jones situation
not re-signing yet. And that dude's obviously not going to play on a tag. Like that dude is either getting paid by the Giants or someone else is going to give him a contract. But yeah. I don't know how I feel about Rodgers to Carolina, Jared. I feel like
no, I meant Rodgers to Tennessee.
Tennessee. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like we were talking about this pre-show, Matt, but we've been saying this for like literally like almost 2 months now, but it's just every single thing that you hear is that all sort of signs point to Rodgers to New York. And I feel like now you're at the point where, the Jets like have to make a move, right? You're playing Josh Allen twice a year. You're playing Belichick twice a year. Mike McDaniel's obviously shown how quickly he can turn around an offense. I feel like it's at this point, whether it's Tua or someone else at quarterback for Miami, they're still going to be good. They still have Tyreek Hill. They still have Jalen Waddle. Their defense is still very good. They're not really losing anyone on either side of the ball. So like New York has to, and now that Carr's gone, obviously, from the news this morning, they have to go, like drafting a quarterback at this point just isn't an option. They have to go get one of these free agent quarterbacks, like, because the roster is just too talented, to let time just continue to waste. You know what I mean?
We are going to talk about this more, obviously, because next Wednesday is the first day of the NFL free. I think free agency, the tampering period starts, I think, Tuesday morning. So I think what we should do is on Monday, we should do a where are they going to land big free agent name edition, and we're going to take our guess to see who wins. Another big thing that just like a couple guys got cut today, like Eric Kendricks, gone. Bobby Wagner, gone. Chosen Anderson, gone. Matt's favorite.
Frank Clark is getting released.
Yep.
I feel like there was one other decently big name.
I'm trying to think.
Leonard Floyd is getting cut, I think.
Right. I heard about that. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of, Matt.
I know they said Thielen could be cut if he doesn't restructure his contract.
And then obviously, tons of dudes are getting shopped. I heard that Allen Robinson is getting shopped. I mean, someone's going to take a flyer on him. But
guys, the Bears are getting him back for Justin.
I mean, shoot, dude, if the Patriots miss out on D-Hop, and then it's obviously seeming like T. Higgins isn't getting moved at this point, I mean, I'd take a flyer on him, to be honest with you. Like, maybe
he's still only 29.
Right, and it's like, what's going to be the cost on that, dude? Like, it can't be very high.
No, especially the season that he had, got to be like maybe like a fifth rounder, maybe sixth.
I mean, if that, dude. If that, because the other, I feel like the team who's going to be trying to acquire him knows that LA is trying to accumulate draft capital, because they're obviously, in that area, they are completely lacking. And it doesn't look like the situation over there is getting any better as the days pass. So they can definitely use that as leverage to bargain and bring down that price on Robinson for sure.
Yeah, and I think everybody forgets Robinson before he went to the Rams was highly regarded as like a wide receiver one, was going to get a lot of attention in free agency.
Yeah.
And it's just this 1 year does not define him. This 1 year did not have a great year.
Absolutely
but they didn't use him. I still view him as a
career restart. He needs a career restart harder than anybody.
And he's only 29. He's fine.
And if you think about the quarterbacks that he's been paired with, right? I mean, Stafford, I think it's safe to say, was probably never 100% as long as he was playing last year. Mayfield is the third string. Is his name Bryce? What is it? Bryce what? You guys know who I'm talking about on the Rams?
Skronek or
Wolf. I thought he was Wolf something. I don't even fucking know.
Maybe I'm blank.
Some guy will never name who probably makes more money than I'll ever make in 1 year. Hey, listen, like guy does what he does, man. But here's the kicker with Robinson, right? He's gonna go to some team, and he's going to explode, or this is his last contract.
Right, exactly.
He's an XFL receiver next year if he doesn't do well,
or he's an analyst on Prime Video.
Jesus Christ!
Hey, which isn't that. Hey man, that's not half bad either, dude. You get to play in the NFL and
the XFL and shit. I completely forgot about the whole Prime Video bullshit for about 3 weeks, and I'm like, oh, this is still a thing. Great, I love it.
Yeah, speaking of Prime, I was hearing that. Have you guys? I mean, I guess you guys aren't huge college guys, but so I've been, the whole sort of story is the uncertainty with the Pac-12 TV deal. Have you guys been hearing about that?
Yeah, kind of.
And so I guess Prime is now trying to, grab that before, Colorado, Utah, ASU, U of A, and then maybe even I think, that's a whole different ball of wax, but I think the Pac-12 is done. I think they're just going to get dissolved.
It's such a weird conference, man. And also, anybody else think like this whole Prime to Colorado thing is going to just burn for the first 2 years?
I think it's hard to say.
to get afloat. I think
I
after
also
like
think here's the thing about Prime, the way he kind of went in, listen, I love Dion, man. Dion's a personality. When he was at Jackson State, it was cool because it was like, all right, he's bringing a lot of attention to HBCUs. This is great. Then he goes to Colorado and he starts like kind of doing things his way, and it's like, okay, cool. So and am I a little bitter because he jacked one of our corners, who was the number 5 recruit in the country? Yeah. But then I said on I think it was Billy After Dark, I'm like, yep, congratulations. Going 4-9 for your first 2 years in college.
I think the reason why Boulder fans are so excited and just like people in college football have an eye on that situation is because of how good he is in recruiting. I think a lot of people would say that, Lincoln Riley is probably like one of the best recruiters in college football. And then I think they would say Deion Sanders is probably like second. And you already know that it doesn't even, I think it's irrelevant like how well they'll do next season because he's going to get dudes to come and transfer. Especially if, I guess this is kind of a hypothetical because who knows if the Pac-12 is around after the 2024 season, so going into 2025 after USC and UCLA leave. But he's going to get dudes to transfer in. He's going to get his guys. And at that point, they're one of the bigger, programs in the Pac-12 if it's still around, or they're coming to the Big 12, where, they probably at that point have as good of a chance as anyone to win the conference because, who are they going to be competing with? TCU and like, K-State, like, you know what I mean?
Oh, fair. No,
so who's got more, to think about it more, like who's got more pull? You come play for one of the best defensive backs of all time, or do you want to go play in Stillwater, Oklahoma? You know what I mean? And I bet they're probably, giving these kids some pretty sweet NIL deals as well, some incentive on top of everything, right?
Listen, I got no issue with Prime here. I really don't. It went great at Jackson. Let's see it go great. Okay, like I want to
Sure.
There's a lot of things that can go wrong in this situation, and we all know football is the most karma-driven sport of all time. I'm not saying he's kicking up some bad luggage, but he definitely burnt some bridges when he came on his way in. We'll see what happens. Listen, Prime being good is good for college football. I'm not going to act like it's not. So
for sure, yeah. It's good for West Coast football. You know what I mean?
It's good for making West Coast football viable out here.
Right.
All right, a couple more NFL headlines. Geno Smith is back and staying in Seattle. The man just got a 3-year deal. Listen, you can't be more than happy. I love fucking that Geno's good. Geno being in Seattle makes me actually very happy. I think this is good for him. I think this is a great deal for the Seahawks as well. One, hey, listen, if he still plays like an MVP caliber quarterback next year, great. You get him for 3 more years and you got to renegotiate down the line. If he is average at best, oh, look, you cut him after a year or two. And by then, Pete's old ass might actually retire or at least go back into the crypt for a couple years to recharge. But I think that at least with Geno in Seattle, it makes them a viable playoff contender going into next year with DK, with Lockett for 1 more year, with K9, with all these dudes. I think Seattle's biggest point in the draft is keep building that defense and get some O-line help. Maybe go get a tight end like my dog Will Mallory, who blew up the goddamn combine at tight end this year. And nobody's talking about it because the kid from Georgia he's like a physical freak. But I look at all the stats, I'm like, oh, my dude from Miami is like top 5 in every stat.
To add on to that point, we don't know the situation at quarterback in San Fran. The Rams probably aren't going to be, that much better than they were this year.
Yeah.
And Arizona is like a freaking dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Who knows when Kyler Murray's back, and they're losing their best receiver. So they're basically in the same situation as Baltimore was a couple years ago, with like Hollywood Brown being their best receiver, with a guy who it's just, I love Kyler to death, but lot of question marks. So Geno being your quarterback for at least, a few more years, buys you some time, right?
Oh,
And
yeah,
definitely makes you, not one of the favorites, but one of the contenders in the NFC for sure.
What my biggest thing is with Geno is just he gives you a chance to score.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing is if they can help more, get Charles Cross some help on the O-line, finally get a damn pass rusher. I swear it's like they're allergic to drafting since Bennett left, but
you've got
I
a
don't know.
star corner, Woolen is a star.
Honestly, they have three good corners.
Right.
I'm like, everyone forgets, like, Woolen got all the attention, but they also have Kobe Bryant and Mike Jackson, who are both solid corners. I was looking at it, I'm like, that's a really good lineup. And I'm like, and they're all like 4th and 5th round draft picks. What does Pete do? What secret sauce does he pour on these guys?
And they have draft capital. How often is it that you, I guess, lose in the first round of the playoffs and you have a top 5 pick? How often does that happen? Very, very, very rarely in the NFL. So going forward, I personally want them to take Richardson at 5. And we can talk about that a little bit later. But that's like my bold prediction for the draft in a month or so, is that they'll take him at 5. He'll sit for a year or two, and then they'll really kind of take off from there.
My bold prediction for them is they take Hendon Hooker in the 4th round, and they let him sit and let that ACL heal. And if he ends up being good, they either let Geno walk, or they cut Geno, or they trade him for draft bait, like certain teams have done with elite prospect backups. So like the Packers and Patriots back in the day. So I think they're more likely to do something like that, because I think the first round they're going to go get that tackle out of Ohio State. I think they want 2 towers on each side of that O-line. Just hand the ball off to K9 and let him roll.
And let Geno in there, hang in there and sling
just
it around.
Sling
too.
the rock. 2 running backs. We talked about this already. Both got tagged. We talked about the tag obviously before. Mace brought it up about Saquon Barkley not playing under the tag. Well, Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard don't have that luxury. Both were slapped on the tag this morning. I just laugh at the Tony Pollard knew this was going to happen, and the Cowboys were going to find a way to fuck this up. Shout out to our boy Maserati. I ran the guy who does the song for us. I ran into him at the gym before I left, and he goes, "You see, Pollard got tagged." And I'm like, dude, I knew they were going to either give him a long-term contract and tag Schultz and just be fucked on cap, or they were going to tag Pollard, let Schultz walk, and be screwed in the passing game. So hysterically enough, it was door number 2. But the Jacobs thing cracks me up, man, because they basically told the guy, well, yeah, we're not giving you a 5th-year player option, and then just has a career year. Fuck, we got to tag him, pay him $8 million more a year. It's just like, I'm laughing my ass off at the Raiders being the Raiders here.
I don't know. I feel like in my mind that it's friendly for both parties. From the Raiders' perspective, obviously Jacobs has, last year was a career year, right? And so there's a lot of uncertainty around that, because who knows if he's going to be able to keep that up. He could come out next season and completely ghost, right? And be a shell of what he was last season. And then you're in a good spot because you don't have to pay him. You don't have to pay him anything, right? You can let him walk in free agency and move on. Or, if he repeats and has a very dominant season and does really well, now you're looking at your running back of the future, right? That's a cornerstone going forward, and some, a part of your offense that you can really rely on. And then from Jacobs' side, it gives you time to prove that you're actually like a solidified, reliable running back in this league. And if he does it, I guess, again next season or has something similar, I don't think it's crazy to say that he might just completely reset the running back market and make some absurd money. Like, so I don't know. It is funny because the Raiders have just screwed this sort of deal up so many times before. So it would kind of like you're saying, Jared, it would be just like the Raiders to just blow this right, like and be stupid. But I kind of like it. I kind of like the move.
Maddie, what do you think before we move into combine talk?
With
Either
I,
running
mean,
back.
I like the fact that they tagged Jacobs and everything. I think it's tough because if I'm them, I'm looking at Jacobs. I'm like, all right, you had a career year. It was in your contract year. You've been up and down with health to staying on the field. I can understand them not wanting to give him a 4 or 5 year large contract. So you franchise tag him, you pay him a lot of money year one, but if you can get similar production from him, you can just extend him again next year, hopefully. So I don't mind the franchise tag. I just hate the franchise tag when I can't sign these people. Yeah. For the Cowboys, I think I would have tagged. Well, no, you tagged Schultz last year, so I guess this makes sense tagging Pollard. I would shift my attention towards re-signing Dalton Schultz. I think he's an underrated tight end. If I'm Dallas, man, I mean, it's not the end of the world to let Tony Pollard walk. They could go draft a guy in the 3rd round again and just reset the clock and have 4 more years of this young running back. But I mean, at the end of the day, like Tony Pollard is he's a big component to that offense. He's a much better running back right now than Zeke is. So I can understand them wanting to tag him. Plus, he's getting $10 million. He's not getting a lot of money. He's getting $10 million, I think, on the tag. So I don't see really any issue with it. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like this is a backup running back we're talking about. I don't think Tony Pollard, you put him on another team, is going to be the immediate RB1, but he's definitely a better option than Zeke for the Cowboys.
I think it's just before you go, Garrett, Jared. I just feel like it was like pick your poison with this. Like you kind of said, Matt, Pollard at the end of the day is a backup running back. It was a split backfield pretty much all year, and then when Elliott started missing a couple games, that's when Pollard kind of took off. And Schultz was kind of the same way. I mean, for the first probably 75% of the season was really not great. And then towards Thanksgiving, December, when they were kind of making that push for the playoffs, that's kind of when he really came into his own and, was very vital to their run towards the end of the season where they eventually put a lot of pressure on Philly to win that last game of the year while Hurts was hurt. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you guys feel like there's like a huge market for Dalton Schultz? Like, I don't really feel like it. I mean,
no,
it's weird because it's a loaded tight end class. If it was, I'd say he's going to get a ton of money, but like what I think like teams like Philadelphia proved, you have a future Hall of Famer in Zach Ertz, but it's like he's not worth paying the money when you can go get a guy in the draft for equal talent. They grabbed Goddard at the end of the 2nd round. I was doing tight end search. Our tight end episode, which is in 3 weeks, is going to be ridiculous because there's like 7 guys I want to talk about. So, and usually with tight ends, it's kind of fucking boring, but it's like, no, there's actually a lot of good ones this year. So I think that's why it's going to affect the market because like if he's going to command too much money, there's going to be some team that overpays for him. So,
which is so weird because Jared, you're exactly right. Like I feel like tight ends haven't become a big part of the sort of like classic NFL offense that we've become accustomed to until 4 or 5 seasons ago. You know what I mean? Like the tight end was not like a super important position. And now we're seeing, Gronk was kind of the first guy who was, really, really like dangerous as a tight end. And yeah, I mean, like there's like 3 good tight ends, right? Kittle, Andrews, Kelsey. And I mean, who else is just like as dominant as those 3? Really like no one.
There was a stretch where like, I mean, where like, you could put Ertz in that conversation. Darren Waller, same thing, where these guys were just absolutely.
Right.
By the way, shout out to Darren Waller for bagging the most attractive WNBA player right now, Kelsey Plum. That's my girl right there. Any woman who can hit a cigar like that, that's a lady.
Yeah, I mean, if Dalton Schultz walked last year, he would have had a massive market. I mean, I'm not to be biased, but I
It was
look
a
at the Jets.
weak ass. Like CJ
Oh, yeah.
Uzama got like 21 million from the fucking
Yeah,
Jets. Sorry,
right.
well,
Matt.
you look at the Jets, and they signed 2 tight ends last year, so
Yeah.
100% they would have signed Dalton Schultz if he walked. But last year would have been a big market. This
He
year,
would have been number
he
one
would
tight
definitely
end in
get
the
paid.
market.
Yeah, he
Besides
would have
the
definitely
prove-it
got
deal with
paid.
Evan Ingram.
He definitely would have got paid this year. But like you said, the draft being so deep, it wouldn't have been a high. He would have been one of those like free agents that signs maybe like later on in free agency kind of thing.
Oh, by the way, shout out to Big Ev getting the tag. I mean, listen, he's gonna earn it. I definitely think that going forward, it's gonna be weird because I think this class is gonna kind of. I think honestly, Schultz got screwed. He gambled on himself. He had a great season, but the problem is that he's gonna get like I think like a team like the Raiders. If no, actually, the Raiders will keep Waller probably.
I'll be honest, I would cut Uzama right now and I'd sign Schultz.
I know you would, but the problem is I think his dead cap hits like $8 or $9 million.
Yeah,
and you guys are already trying to have
you
to
would
pay
probably have to
Rodgers
look.
$1,000 billion.
It would probably make more sense for us to cut Conklin money wise, but I think Conklin was just much better than Uzama. But listen. I could name you like 20 teams right now, like everybody in the AFC East, everybody in the NFC South. You have get the Rams, could use them. You got Seahawks, Denver,
The Texans, the Colts,
Texans, Chargers, all those teams. Like, we're talking like probably like 75% of the league could use a tight end right now. So Dalton Schultz will definitely have a market. It's just a matter of, is he going to get the money he would have gotten maybe a year or so ago? Probably not. But listen, tight end is kind of
it's funny to think about like how this affects Dallas though, because now like what your reality is it's still going to be the same running backfield. Who knows? It feels like every single year Zeke has gotten worse. So we can go ahead and say that he's probably going to look crummier than he did this year, next year. Who knows how Pollard does as like the sort of RB1. And I guess CD was good, solid as the main passing threat option, but I still, in my mind, just kind of think of him as like as a WR2. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I just don't think he's good enough. He's not the same as a Justin Jefferson, as a Tyreek Hill. Some of these receivers that can just sort of take over the game, and like explode, right? Like have a monster game where, Stephon Diggs, right? Like I just don't really put him in that same category as those other guys. And so now they're faced with the, uncertainty of having to go either draft someone, hit on a wide receiver or something, or a tight end, or you've got to now trade or try to sign a free agent receiver or tight end. So it's like I feel like it's just a weird move. It's a very weird move. Why didn't they just re-sign Schultz and go draft like Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs? Like why wasn't that
or cut Zeke? Because I think Zeke's dead cap's only $5 million this year because on the back end it's like the end.
And he sucks. He's terrible.
Or even ask Zeke to restructure. Zeke on the Cowboys. I think Zeke would be a player would surprisingly take a restructure because he knows Dallas is his home. He is a Cowboy. I think
and Jerry loves him. Like Jerry's been very open.
He probably
about
lives in Jerry's damn house. I mean, this is the Cowboys cowboying, and somehow it'll work for the first 12 weeks of the season, and then around week 11 or 12, you are going to have either Philly or New York or Washington, if they get Lamar, just mollywop them into submission on Thanksgiving, and that's it. So I don't. It's wild to me. The Cowboys being the Cowboys as usual, but gentlemen,
making horrible just like either free agent acquisitions or like front office personnel
They're that
choices.
one friend you root so hard for to get their shit together, and every year they find a new way to fuck themselves over.
Gotta be being a Cowboys fan, man. It's gotta be just.
Well, you live in the
draining.
land of
Like,
make believe, Mason. It can't be that bad. What's
yeah,
that?
I mean,
What's that
I know
episode?
plenty of them, man, and it just they never ever, they are always surprising me with new ways of just like, living in this fantasy world of, don't doubt us, like, we can make some magic happen.
We them
like,
boys.
right. It's
No,
a hilarious cycle.
I'm just laughing my ass off, and it's just so funny. But not as funny is the insane performance that some players named DJ Turner, Anthony Richardson, the tight end. I think it's Brennan. Is that the tight end from Georgia? Just insane weekends. Okay,
Nolan Smith. I mean,
Nolan
all the
Smith-
Georgia guys just literally
like, I think
pulled up
Kirby
and
just
balled
creates
out.
them in a fucking lab. I don't think they're actually recruited. Like, Jordan Davis shouldn't run a 4.7. My fastest 40 of my life was a 4.8 flat. And I think I'm the size of an NFL fullback. Freaking Jordan Davis is the size of a mountain. He just outran me by almost a full second. And I'm just like, and I ran that 4.8 in college in the best shape of my life. Now, I'm like, what the shit, man? That's just scary. But listen, we'll talk about A-Rich quick before we get into some others. Let's talk about the winners. So we named a couple, obviously. A-Rich just absolutely just slaying it here. I actually have, when we talk draft, we're going to talk draft picks in about 10, 15 minutes. I can't wait to talk about, I know exactly where I want him to go. And I think it's going to be great. And it's not because of a little biases I have to whose team he's going to. I just think it's going to be an awesome fit. I also have a great fit for CJ Stroud, too. I think it is a match made in hell for a division that honestly has been watching the team who he would go to have a mediocre quarterback for the last decade. So that being said, let's get into a couple quick winners, losers of the draft of the combine. I'll start off with Anthony Richardson, guys. We'll talk about him at length during the draft pick. So I'll say this: dude had the best combine performance for a quarterback I've seen in a long time. Just absolutely ridiculous. That man's not human.
He solidified that he's going to be probably a top 10 pick.
Oh, yeah, no. And I can tell you it's going to be closer to the top 4. I have a theory on where he's going, especially if this Jalen Carter arrest happens, or even if it gets a little saltier. I know a team from the Midwest who really wants, especially with their OC, I know exactly where this dude's going because this is such a move by their owner. And honestly, if they – with who they just got as a head coach, I think it works. I'm almost giving away too much at this point. I love watching Nolan Smith work. I got to give a shout out to my boy from the U, Will Mallory, and Tariq Stevenson both put up good numbers. But Will Mallory finished top 5 in bench, number 1 in 40, top 5 in vertical. And I'm like, oh, he's a 7th round draft pick. God, this tight end class is fucking loaded. Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs both killing it. Best 2 running backs in the class. I mean, there's going to be other ones too. Receivers, there was really nobody who was underwhelming at receiver. I thought Jalen Hyatt was going to run more, but he's an open field sprinter. So I don't really care about a 40 time. I watched him blow past 2 future first round pick corners multiple times. I think he's, by the way, this whole Jackson Smith and Jigma is the best receiver in this class is a farce. I'm a big Jalen Hyatt guy. I think this man is going to be the next JJ, at least where he's falls to the end of the round, but he's the best quarterback receiver in the class. Or an AJ Brown type where he's not the 3rd or 4th receiver off the board. That's my thing though. It's so I like Njigma, but the problem is the fact he didn't run in the 40 told me everything. It's not where it's Cooper Kupp where the dude's a freaking surgeon. Okay, even in college, you could see Cooper Kupp just dominating people. It was Eastern Washington, yes, but still, Smith and Jigma also just there's a couple things that bother me. Okay, it bothers me that he sat out the entire season, and there's a lot of speculation about it. usually when there's a bad injury like that, it's not really speculation. That word isn't even thrown around. And it's not even like they had a bad team. Like if Anthony Richardson sat out, or like not Anthony Richardson, like when Jamar Chase sat out the season because he couldn't go to the season after they won, sat out 2020, I understood that. That was literally the dumbest. No, sorry. That was the smartest thing Jamar Chase could do because that LSU team in 2020 was abysmal. Okay, so that makes sense. Like, this does not at all, because you have a top 5, top 10 quarterback in CJ Stroud. You have Marvin Harrison Jr., who's going to take 80% of the double coverage off you. Oh, and on top of that, Ohio State was one missed field goal away from going to the national championship game. And like, there's one thing scouts love is players who make big plays in big games, a la Devontae Smith, who went from being a back end of the first round pick to being top 10 because of his postseason. Like, people like to see that. It's the same reason guys throw at the combine. A lot of these guys want to see you compete. I have a weird feeling Smith and Jigma is not as fast as we think. He put up that one giant game, and I just wanted to see more of a sample size. Like, I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a Clowney effect. Like, he's got the raw talent, but, like, let me see him do it consistently. Now, Jordan Addison, dude's scooting, and I saw him put up good numbers wherever he went. God, the guy I think he had, like, Kenny Pickett as a quarterback, all right? Like, it's just, why I let Jalen Hyatt as the best receiver, and I'm sorry I went on a tangent here, is that I was watching all of the Hendon Hooker highlights today and on Sunday, and I watched some tape, and I just watched him, even on routes where he wasn't throwing the ball, just blow past corners. Whether it was hand fighting, separation, burst off lines, like everything you want a receiver to have, this dude did it, and he did it quickly and effectively. And I was like, oh, this guy's a hidden gem. This is interesting now. It's just, for me, it's like the wow was right there on tape. I didn't have to get told it was there. I'm like, oh, I see him. I didn't even need to look. I'm like, oh, who's that guy running Mach 1 past 2 corners? Oh, it's 11. Okay, he's gone. Like, just book it. Game. Like, I think he caught a slant route on like the 40 and housed it for 60 yards. I'm like, that's like some OBJ shit. That's like some OBJ, DK Metcalf, like Tyreek Hill shit, where he just like, oh, catch, gone, boom, gun. So I'm a big Hyatt guy, and I'm sorry. I think had a good enough combine where I didn't have to doubt his speed. Who did you guys like at the combine? As I ranted for the last 10 minutes and taking up our time.
I mean, we're talking about quarterbacks. Or we're talking about anybody.
Anybody. Quarterbacks are in 5 minutes.
All right. If I have to pick one person out, I do like Gibbs. It's just I like the guys that don't get talked about too much, but. You know, everybody's fixated on Bijan Robinson and everything like that. But I think Gibbs came out and just really showed like, hey, like, no, like I am one of the best that are coming out right now. Talk about me more kind of thing. I think he really put himself on the map to increase his draft stock. So Gibbs is one particular person that I was just very impressed by with the combine.
Mace, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so I'll just speak about the two tackles that OU sent to Indy over the weekend, Anton Harrison and Wanya Morris. They really had a lot to prove. Wanya Morris was a transfer in from Tennessee, I believe 2 seasons ago, and then Anton Harrison was always at Oklahoma. He's 21. He's played 1 year at left tackle, 1 season. So, you know, a lot of people were kind of uncertain with, you know, him being a little bit young, only having experience playing at left tackle for a season, but both of them did really well. Great 40s. And Wanya Morris was also dealing with like a hamstring injury that kind of bothered him throughout the season. So I think both of those guys definitely raised their stock with the agility drills, speed drills, you know, the measurements, obviously, and I'm sure they'll work out at the pro day here in Norman next month. But I think both of those guys had a lot to prove and absolutely exceeded expectations of what GMs were kind of skeptical about coming into the combine this weekend.
Fair. I'm on with Matt with this. I've been on a Jahmyr Gibbs fan since I watched him step on the field and blow past. Like, I can't remember who they play. I remember him at Georgia Tech a little bit. Like, he played a little bit, but not like a crazy amount. But when he went to Alabama, I'm like, I watched this dude just absolutely rocket by a guy who had a perfect angle on him. It was like watching Adrian Peterson. I was like speed-wise, I was like, oh, this dude can move. And it looked effortless. Like, he just decided, I'm just going to run a little harder. And I'm like, oh, my God, he's actually just flying by him. I was concerned about Bijan's 40 time, but dude does not disappoint. I love his ball carrier vision, by the way. I think he's just special. When it comes to him, just stop, start, his patience. I think that's underrated as hell. It's very Le'Veon Bell-ish, but unlike Le'Veon, the dude can hit the gas when he gets in the open field. So, obviously, we could talk about all the guys who ran ridiculous 40s. Obviously, the kid from West Virginia, DJ Turner, out of Maryland, I think out of Michigan. Then you have the kid out of Maryland who ran a ridiculous time too. Christian Gonzalez cleaned up. Dude's a freak. It was, it definitely dominated by tight ends, corners, and quarterbacks. Dominated the kind of the headlines. Running backs, receivers, linemen, D linemen. Besides Nolan Smith, didn't really do much to like wow us, which is kind of interesting. I thought Will Anderson would run a little better, but I didn't really care, honestly, because he's a freak. I wish the kid from Texas Tech, I wish ran a little better too, but what are you going to do? But, yeah, no, honestly, it was a solid combine. I don't think anybody really hurt their stock. I saw a couple of receivers in the back end that were just like, ooh. Oh, by the way, boys, there was a white corner who ran a 4.4. Let's go! The kid from Ohio State. We got Jason Sehorn 2.0 coming out. Oh my
we
God.
got a 4.65 40 from Stetson Bennett. Is he going to go higher in the fifth round?
Oh yeah. Max Duggan runs like a 4.5 flat. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, what a guy. Does it all.
Max Duggan, I think, ran the same or maybe 0.2 seconds faster than Hurts did. I was like, all right, Max. Dude, is it bad? I don't want even Max to go to the NFL. I want Max Duggan to go to the XFL tomorrow. Like, just say screw the draft process. Go send him to like the Guardians. Somebody needs a quarterback, and just have him just wreak havoc on read options and shit.
I'm excited to see that guy play. I don't know who's going to draft him, obviously, but I'm excited to see him in the league. I'm hoping he gets a chance.
Yeah,
but he's going to be an exciting guy to see.
I still think my favorite moment of the whole combine was Malik Cunningham going, wait, I got drafted to the USFL? How bad do you have to look as a league where you drafted a player who's not even going to come to your league?
Not even going to like remotely consider it either.
Not even, yeah, I know. I will say this take before we go to drafts, and then we'll just do our kind of final notes. I think the XFL through 4 weeks, we talked about this, has been great. Still haven't picked the team yet. I like the Vegas Vipers because I like their new core. I like the Renegades too. I like Vegas because I like Brent Huntley and I like Martavius Bryant. Guardians have my boy Charleston Rambo, and Big Charles Harris. There's like a couple guys. There's guys I root for. So I think I'm down to 3 teams. I think I'm down to Vegas, Arlington, and I'll throw in Houston. Nah, I don't like Houston. Houston.
I'm leaning towards DC Defenders.
Yeah, they got my boy De'Ara King playing ball.
Dude,
and Jordan Teamo.
The beer snake is amazing.
Yeah, I'm kind of liking that too. It's anything from DC. It's just hard for me to root for politically or sports wise.
Understood.
I don't know. I'll figure it out. Maybe by the All-Star. I don't even know if they're doing an All-Star game. Maybe by the mid-season point, I'll have a team. I don't know. Like I was so big on the Battlehawks because I love Jordan Teamo. I loved his story. And then now I like AJ McCarron, and it's always great seeing Catherine Webb in the stands go full Brett Musburger about it. But it's like, I don't know. I can't really pick a team yet. It's weird. I do enjoy the fact that they're spreading the games out. There's the Thursday game one week. There's a Saturday the next. There's a couple Sundays. Like, this is awesome. Like, on Sunday, I watched, on Saturday, I did some stuff. I played some Xbox. Around 6:30, I threw Duke UNC on. That ended through the XFL game. It was a great game, by the way. Then through the UFC prelims. I literally had nothing on from sports from 6:30 to 12:40. When did Jones not come out? 12:52 a.m. So yeah, it was great. I enjoyed it, but I think the XFL's got a great product, and the USFL better bring their A game, because what they put out last year was weak sauce, and the XFL just stacked the deck even higher. Mm-hmm. But all right, boys, you ready to talk some quarterback rankings? Now, folks, the game is simple. We are going to rank our top 5 quarterbacks, and this is a version of the 25-second game, except you get a minute. Everyone gets a minute to say why they like this quarterback and where they see him going.
So you said, sorry, one sec. So top 5, because I feel like there's 4 major guys.
Well, I'm gonna put a sleeper in there because I'm so okay. I kind of leaked where I wanted this guy to go because I think he's gonna be great there. But we're gonna put everyone's favorite music on in the background. And we're going to get rock and rolling. So, my top 5 quarterbacks. Number 5, hopefully he gets drafted in the 4th round to a team like the Seattle Seahawks. That is the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who took out Alabama, Hendon Hooker. Why I love Hendon Hooker? He is a more polished Dak Prescott to me. That is who I see. A more polished, better at distributing the ball, keeping it in front of him, keeping the game in his pace. He's one of those, he's like a pitcher who controls the game. Everything's in his hands. He can make the big throws. He can extend plays. The ACL thing is scary. He's a year older. It's not great, but Joe Burrow's a year older. It didn't matter. I think him sitting behind a guy like Geno, or him maybe going to a team with a shaky quarterback situation, maybe Miami and Tua, or come on, him throwing a ball at Tyreek, or because listen, if he gets drafted by Miami, he's going to be playing by week 7. Let's be honest. Or maybe throw him in to New York to back up Danny Dimes, and maybe this thing doesn't work out with Danny, or Washington behind Sam Howell. There's a lot of situations who could have him kind of sit back and be that like sleeper guy to come up and be ready for the season. I love Hendon Hooker. I think he's a more polished righty Dak Prescott, and I think that is why I think he's going to be a great sleeper. Where my sleeper last year was Carson Strong, and I completely forgot he has no accuracy under 30 yards. So, hey, he did good, though, during throwing the combine drills. All right, number 4 is Mr. Mustard or Mayonnaise in the freaking coffee, Will Levis. Now, this man is basically his peak is Indianapolis Colts Carson Wentz. I think this guy is crap. I mean, no, that's rough on the kid. I don't think he's crap. I just think he's average. Okay? I think he's got a cannon arm. I think his floor is Paxton Lynch. His ceiling is Indianapolis Carson Wentz. Where he could be like a surf.
You sure you're not describing Zach Wilson right now?
No, because unlike Zach Wilson.
Exactly, Matt. Exactly.
This man actually has a physical body and played in the SEC and not with a bunch of 6'8" white boys in the Mountain West Conference. Like, at least Will Levis could throw balls to certain spots. Where Zach Wilson's entire highlight tape was him throwing jump balls or wide open receivers. So I think he'll be okay. I think he's going to be a career backup. I think some team's going to waste a first-round pick on him. And that's some team. I was doing my first mock draft last night, and I was chuckling a little bit. I was like, dude, if this fucking happens, this team should just roll over and die. I thought originally the Raiders, because it seems like a Raider pick, but then I forgot Josh McDaniels runs the show there now. So as I just lost the draft order, and I'm really pissed. I hate the ESPN app. It's the freaking worst. I have him going to Carolina at 9. I think they're going to swing and miss on every quarterback in this free agency, and they're going to panic and take him when they realize they can't trade up to go get the 3 quarterbacks or better. Now, can Frank Reich do something for this guy? Oh, totally. This dude made Carson Wentz look serviceable. So, post Jadeveon Clowney breaking his melon. So, I think Levis could be a decent starter. I think with a good team around him, he can be a playoff quarterback. That's his ceiling, but he's not an all-pro. He's not a Pro Bowler. He may get one of those, like, how the hell did this guy get Pro Bowl votes again kind of thing, but I think Levis has got a great arm, but his lack of accuracy, his decision-making problems, and it's just also, come on, mayonnaise in the fucking coffee, man. I've like grass-fed butter I could do. I've heard people who put like just straight chocolate syrup in their coffee, like, but like, come on, man, this is bullshit. All right, number 3, going to the Las Vegas Raiders. He is not my number. Actually, no, I'm sorry. No, my number 3 is probably going because they're going to trade out. Number 2 to the Houston Texans. Give me the first quarterback off the board. Second quarterback off the board, actually. Number 2 to the Houston Texans. I have Bryce Young. I like Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young is a great quarterback. I see him as a less screwy, a little more throw, a little less improvise Russell Wilson. And it's not because of the height. It's because of their style of play. The way they can just kind of run around, last second flick the ball, and it's accurately put on the spot. They look to throw first. The accuracy's there. The leadership's there. Every time I watch Bryce Young play, he makes a magician-level throw. And it's not like a throw where I'm like, that won't get complete in the NFL. It's like, oh, okay. I can see him making that throw in the pros. His size scares me. That's why I don't trust the arm strength. The fact he didn't throw at the combine, even though everyone else did, it was kind of like, eh. But I like Bryce Young a lot. I think Houston's a good spot for him, especially if they keep using all the draft capital they have. Number 2 is the first quarterback coming off my board. He is going to be involved in a trade between the Bears and the Indianapolis Colts. That is Anthony Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson's going to get the hype train going to go. The Colts are going to see that maybe Houston wants him. They're going to panic, and they're going to trade up to go get him at 1. Because the Bears are going to hear, okay, either that or they're going to get him at 3 or 2, whatever. It doesn't matter. They're going to get him at their spot. The only way he falls, he's going to go to the Colts. And I think is with Shane Steichen's ability to work with mobile quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts, which we saw last year. And listen, it's not going to be like Jalen. Jalen came in semi-polished because of Lincoln Riley. That Florida Gators team basically should have just been a tank of reptiles. That team was terrible. But Richardson was a bright spot. And you know what? With Steichen kind of working with this guy and the ability that the Colts have a great O-line, they have a great running back, a decent defense, and big receivers. They can honestly make this work. So I think Richardson is going to struggle. The Colts are going to be no better than, you know what he's going to be? He's going to be rookie year Vince Young this year for the Colts. But you know what? They're still going to go like 8-9 and be sniffing a wild card spot to the end and be fun as hell. So there he is. Number 1, C.J. Stroud to the Raiders. I love this. This is a match made in hell for a lot of secondaries because Stroud is my favorite quarterback in this class. Arm strength, leadership, ability to extend plays, but does not rely on his feet. The ball placement is perfection with his arm strength. Usually guys who have a cannon don't rely on their don't use the pinpoint accuracy. He's putting balls in tight windows. He's making the correct reads. He's distributing the rock. He had a top 5 receiver in the damn game last year, Marvin Harrison Jr., and still spread the rock around. He made the right decisions. He took Georgia to the distance. If it wasn't for their Ohio State's kicker, basically playing for the other team. And honestly, one thing I love about Stroud is he could take on a complex system that is going to rely on making every throw in the book like Josh McDaniels could. Listen, if they could have a crazy redneck like Jarrett Stidham do this system, they can have C.J. Stroud do it. I honestly think that Stroud to the Raiders is perfect because he, under McDaniels' tutelage, with Darren Waller, with Devontae Adams, with Josh Jacobs for one more year, and Hunter Renfrow, it's a perfect system to just let the dude work. And this, because I know they're not going to get. Everyone's like, oh, the Raiders, Rodgers, maybe. No. They're going to draft a quarterback. I don't think McDaniels wants to work with this. I think he wants a guy he can get his hands on and work with. So that is my top 5 quarterbacks. I went long. I'm sorry. I got excited. It's been a long time. I've been sitting in these takes for 2 weeks. Mason, who are your top 5 quarterbacks? If you only want to do 4, it's fine. I'm not going to. I don't care. I got
a 5th. Okay. So 5th. This is just kind of for fun. One of my really good friends from here at OU went to high school with this guy, Clayton Tune. He's the quarterback from Houston
Ooh.
Don't really know if he is going to really have a career in the NFL. Maybe a backup, maybe a practice squad or third string guy. But I'm willing to bet that someone probably, spends a 5th or 6th rounder on him just to kind of take a flyer. Because I want to say he was top 3 in passing yards last year, all FBS. So the guy can definitely throw the ball, and at Houston, we're talking about limited weapons. So maybe someone takes a flyer on him simply because at the NFL level, you're going to have better talent around you than what he was working with at U of H. And he obviously made it work there. So moving into the top 4, I've got Levis at 4. This guy's combine was really nothing special to me. I think everyone kind of knew that this dude has a cannon for an arm, big guy, big frame, semi-mobile, but I don't see anyone moving into the top 5 or top 4 to spend that kind of draft capital on him. I have him going to the Panthers at 9 because I have the other 3 premier sort of prospects going before 9. So I've got Levis at 4 in my rankings, going to Carolina at 9. Next, I've got Bryce Young at 3. I haven't been on I have not been high on this guy all season. I don't care what he weighed in at. I don't care what he measured in at. I think it was 6 foot and like 200, 6 foot flat, 200 pounds. I think that's a lie. There's no chance this dude has 40 pounds on me. I don't believe that. So I think this guy is going to be the bust of the draft. I think he's wildly undersized. I think he's going to want to run in the NFL, and it's just not going to work out well for him simply because of his size and his weight. And you know what? To add to that, I mean, he took a lot of really, really bad sacks, particularly last season, and that kind of led to his injury. That nagged him for the end of last season in college football. So I've got Bryce Young at 3, and I have the Colts trading up to 1, trading with the Bears up to the 1 spot to take him because I do think he won't go any lower than 1. I think he's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. At 2, I've got Richardson. I think we all agree that he really, really opened some eyes to some doubters and people who were skeptical of his play on Saturday. He's a massive, massive individual, 6'4". I think it was like 240 something. So this guy is huge. Ran an outstanding 40 and was looking really sharp when they were flipping balls around. So I think that raised his stock. I can't remember who said it, but there's no way this guy falls lower than 9. There's no way if Carolina stays at 9, there's absolutely no chance that he goes lower than that pick. And if you're still sort of denying that he's not a top 10 talent in this draft, you're crazy. So I have him going to Seattle at 5. I think they get their quarterback of the future at the 5 spot. I do know that they have defensive issues and that they could probably take a edge rusher or a linebacker or a nickel or someone up front to really bolster their defense and make them a really hard out in like a playoff game. But I feel like they've got the offensive weapons, man. They've got a really good I guess it'll be a sophomore running back. They've got the receivers. They've got the O-line. They've got the coach. They've got the pieces on defense. So I think they take Richardson at 5, get their quarterback of the future. Number 1, I've got Stroud going to the Texans at 2 because, like I said, I've got the Colts trading up to 1 and taking Young. If Young is on the board after the 1 pick, I think Houston ends up taking him. Because I don't know. The only guy that I think they could take other than Stroud or Young I guess, is AR, but I don't know if like AR is worth like a 2-pick. Like I really don't. Stroud, he didn't really do. Sorry, Jared. What?
Oh, my mic was muted. I said you just kind of have to factor in like some of these organizations are fucking nuts.
Right.
So that's why I put in like AR to the Colts, because Jim Irsay would be slamming Chris Ballard's table like, I want that 40-yard runner, brother. Let's go get him.
Right.
Like, I could just totally see that happening. But I see your point, though. I think that's, honestly, I completely agree with your rankings, obviously. So.
And so on Stroud, though, real quick, I mean, didn't really do anything really surprising at the combine. Kind of just rolled up and, ran the 40 that we kind of expected him to. When the quarterbacks were throwing, he looked sharp. He made all the throws that we knew he was capable of, and that the rest of these guys were throwing. The height and the weight are exactly what you want. He's more than adequately sized to be the sort of stock NFL quarterback, right? Very talented, I think. In the semifinal versus Georgia, kind of proved all the doubters wrong in terms of, I mean, this guy can move around. I think people had questions on whether or not this guy was a mobile quarterback or not, and definitely kind of silenced the doubters in that game. To boot, best receiver was out and was missing his second best receiver in the second half of that game, and they only lost because the kicker absolutely botched that kick at the end of the game. Tragic. But I don't know, if I had to take my, the guy that I would want my team to take out of all 5 of these guys, I guess really just the last 4. I mean, I think you got to go Stroud, man.
I think Stroud's superior. I think
he's the safest bet. He's the safest bet at quarterback, going forward, right? Like he's pretty, you know what you're getting. There's not a lot of uncertainty. He can throw the ball well. He can move around well. He's a good size. I just don't really see any flaws.
His prototype, he reminds me of when I watch him play. He reminds me of a lot of Aaron Rodgers. Just absolutely everything is polished, clean, the improvisation, the ability to put the ball on a pin needle, and just looks like he's like, okay, this guy is going to come down the field and whoop my ass. It doesn't matter who he's throwing the ball to. So he's AR. And I think he's Aaron Rodgers to me.
And I think the thing with Young that kind of like distracts me and throws me off about him is that, we all know about the arm talent, right? We know that this guy can throw really, really well, but I don't know, man. I can't overlook the size.
I want him to do something crazy at his pro day, or else he's still going to be my third quarterback. I honestly would rather have AR over him, because I think AR, you're going to get a better back end revenue. You're going to probably
it's a bigger project with AR, but it's like the payoff could be exponentially higher with Richardson. I mean, honestly, than any of these guys, really. The ceiling feels like it's way higher for Richardson than.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. I was just
no.
loud.
Yeah, it's just the thing with AR is like I feel like it's important that we have to say is that you can't ignore the tape, right?
Yeah.
He really makes the easy throws look hard.
And the ridiculous throws look easy.
Right, exactly. He makes like the freak of nature plays. It's kind of like Lamar, like in very many ways. Like Lamar makes the really easy throws look way too difficult, but he makes the MVP 80-yard runs where he drops like 5 guys on the way to a touchdown look easy, right? Like effortless. Yeah. So it's just, do you want to gamble and take AR with like a really high pick and maybe, get like a league winning quarterback? Or do you want to take one of these guys that it's like, you're pretty certain on what you're getting? You know what I mean?
Exactly. One thing we'll bring up before Matt quick is honestly, when I saw AR, he's a hybrid to me of Vince Young meets a poor man's Cam Newton, or Cam Newton. I'm not sure, but he reminds me of the two of them because he has very much a lot of Vince Young in him, where it's like, it's going to look ugly. It may not look pretty, but he's still going to get the first down. And it's like, okay, And he's got that Cam Newton because it's just the size, the strength, the leadership ability, and just the ability to take over a game. Maddie, I am sorry we've made you chomp at the bit. You go as fast as you want or slow as you want. The floor is yours.
Let's hear it, Matt.
Well, mine will be on the quicker side because I know you guys know this is my first year where I started actually watching a lot more college football. So I'll start with my number 5, a wild card that neither of us have talked about in our top 5 right now. I'm throwing Max Duggan in there. I like the guy. I think this kid has potential for maybe after sitting for a year or two to just kind of make it into this league and just try and stamp his name in there. But I also think there's a big risk that he could just kind of wind up being like an AJ McCarron, who backup at best, mediocre starter at best kind of thing. But Max Duggan, obviously, he's not going to be a first rounder, but I have him going to Denver eventually in the draft. I think Sean Payton he's going to roll with Russell Wilson. I think you have to, especially with that contract. But I could see Sean Payton doing just kind of like a mid-round flyer on the guy. Be like, hey, we're going to throw him behind Russ. Worst comes to worst, Russ pans out, and this kid learns behind him. So I got Duggan going to Denver with Sean Payton. I think that'll be a nice fit for him. He just gets into the league with a coach that can develop him. Number 4, I'm going with Will Levis with this one. I like Will Levis. I think it's mostly because he's a Connecticut native. But if you look at it, like Jared was saying, you look at his stats, nothing screams franchise, nothing screams elite, nothing screams top 5, top 10 quarterback selection. But we all know he's going to be a quarterback selected in the top 10 of this draft. I have Levis going to. I just have this. Like Jared said, I want to pick the Raiders. But I have to remind myself they don't have Mike Mayock anymore, who's the worst general manager I've ever seen. They have Josh McDaniels running the ship. I think Will Levis goes to the Colts. I have everybody staying where they are. I didn't do any things. I have Will Levis going to the Colts. I think he's going to get picked higher than he should, obviously. There's just some weird obsession with him with a lot of teams. I think he goes to the Colts. It just feels like a Colts move. And it's just something DJ was just. What was that?
He goes to the freaking Texans at 2. They just say screw it.
But see, the thing is, I think he goes top 5.
For my friends at home, man, I would be.
He doesn't deserve it, but he goes top 5.
Anybody else think he may just drop? By the way, Matt didn't make a drop. Anybody think
I kind of do, Jared.
Like
he may go like 20th, and like some team who like had no business picking snags him.
Like Johnny Manziel.
I don't think he falls that far, Jared, but I think there's a chance that he goes somewhere in like that, like 11 to like 16 area. I pray to God that the Patriots just don't try to outsmart themselves. And like, if they took him at 14, dude, I would like, just don't ever talk to me again, dude, because I would be crushed. Like
two teams who could take him late. Washington at 16 or Tampa at 19.
Yeah, that's that's not a bad call there. Tampa is absolutely for sure. Yeah.
I don't think Tampa has the staff though to build a quarterback right now. I mean, Todd Bowles worked with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, they do not give a shit, man.
They don't give a shit.
They got their Super Bowl, man. Now they don't care.
Yeah, that's true. I got for my third one up. I got Anthony Richardson. He, like we talked about, it's just the potential that he has. It's almost dangerous to just talk about or just take that risk on that. Because, like you said, he could be an MVP Cam Newton, or he could want to be an Vince Young. Nobody really knows what it's going to be. He has the potential to be like a top tier Cam Newton. Is he going to? We have no idea. I think he doesn't make it past number 9. I think he goes to the Panthers with this one. You give him DJ Moore, you give him Donta Foreman. They need work on offense. It's obvious that the Panthers need a lot of work on offense, but I can definitely see if he's still there and the Panthers are up at 9, I don't think he makes it past them.
Yeah.
Number 2, I got Bryce Young. And I think Bryce Young's going to be the first quarterback to come off this draft board. I think he's going to go to the Texans. I think he stays in the southern region. And it just seems like something the Texans are going to do. I hear a lot of this Bryce Young talk. Is he big enough? Size questions. And it just makes me think of Lamar Jackson when he was coming out into the draft. Everybody was questioning his size. Everybody was questioning his arm strength. Can he be quarterback? Should he convert to running back? And Bryce Young's getting a lot of the same attention because of his measurements and everything like that. So I think the Texans take that risk on him, and he goes to them at, what are they picking, 2?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then last up, obviously, we have CJ Stroud. And the only team left is obviously the Las Vegas Raiders. I think CJ Stroud goes to the Raiders. I think, listen, CJ Stroud, in my opinion, like we all talked about, I think he's the number 1 quarterback in this draft. Imagine him with Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, and Josh Jacobs. That's like amazing, especially if he pans out and he's who we all think he's going to be. That's
Raiders
an amazing offense.
Might be like that team that every year there's that one team led by a rookie that makes the playoffs, and everyone's like, wait, what the fuck? Where'd they come from? I think it's the Raiders.
And if any quarterback,
yeah.
No, I was going to say, if any quarterback slips out the top 10, like Anthony Richardson and Will Levis, I think are 2 guys that can slip out of the top 10. Like if anybody were to slip, possibly. My jump ahead of the game prediction is the Jets get Aaron Rodgers, and if they are really not sold on Zach Wilson, if they're really not sold on Zach Wilson, like all the reports are saying, and they dump him, I don't know. I could very well see the Jets going Anthony Richardson at 13 and just letting him sit behind Rodgers for a year or 2. But if anything, I think if Will Levis or Anthony Richardson slip and makes it to the Patriots, I think they take whichever one's available. Like I think Bill Belichick is done with Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is fine. I think he's looks like I think Mac will. Dude, I think Mac Jones is fine.
Man, do not get me excited, dude. Because like, if they took Richardson at 14, like, oh my god, man, the hype that you would be hearing from me, like,
he'd be drunk FaceTiming.
I would be like,
I've never even seen Mason drunk before, so I don't even know if you actually drink or not. But like, you'd be like popping champagne bottles and going crazy. I could just see this happening.
Oh, yeah.
My bold prediction, my sleeper prediction though, is the Patriots make a trade with the Raiders, and they take whatever quarterback's available. But I just can see Mac Jones becoming a Raider, just reuniting with Josh McDaniels. There's some ties with the ownership and everything over there. I can see the Patriots making some sort of deal where they move into the top 5 and they give up Mac Jones.
Top 10, but yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I don't know. I think they really kind of were like, okay, maybe we didn't. I think Bill's one of those guys who just does it to prove a point. I think Mac has one more year in New England. If Mac is good, then the cycle of purgatory continues. But if he's absolute doggy dude, I think for some reason, and I love my boy Kev, right? But Kev said to me, he goes, dude, if they treat Mac like shit, I'm off. I'm done with pro football. I'm like, your boy played like crap and then violated team rules. DJ Williams' career was killed because he bitched about his playbook. Like, Mac Jones went outside to talk about shit to other teams and other coaches. Like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah, Bill failed, but you say something to Bill. Yes, Bill also has fucking lost his mind, but it's still Bill.
That's not true.
Yeah, he hired Billy O.B., who's probably going to trade their best player for a bag of beans again. It's okay.
I mean, to reiterate, I think Mac Jones is fine. I think he's a good quarterback. I think how can you really say this kid sucks after you gave him a defensive coordinator for an offensive
capable.
coordinator?
I think that's the best word to sort of like describe Mac Jones is like, he's just capable, man. Like, he's not going to be Josh Allen, but he's not going to be Davis Mills. You know what I mean? Which is a huge range, right? One's like, debatably best quarterback in the league, and the other's like bottom 5. But you don't know what you're getting on any given day, man. He might come out there and sling it around for 250 and 3 TDs and run for another one, or he might come out here and throw 2 picks and throw for less than 100 yards and no touchdowns. You got no idea what you're getting.
No. And you can't put him on some sort of an elite top tier. Like, you can't say like, oh, if they get rid of him, like, I'm done. Like, he's not Patrick Mahomes, he's not Josh Allen, he's not Joe Burrow, he's not Jalen Hurts.
Prospect, and we knew that. Like, we knew that when when he was drafted, right? We knew that he was going to be, a guy who was going to sit in the pocket and sling it around, right? Like we knew what we were getting. We weren't getting like this, Anthony Richardson or Lamar Jackson prospect. Mm-hmm. So, that's a weird take to have. From y'all's friend.
We somehow got to a Mac Jones conversation. I have to talk about C.J. Stroud, who me and Mason think might be next, like Aaron Rodgers. I
will say real quick, I didn't have the Raiders taking a quarterback because I have them
getting Rodgers.
No, getting Jimmy G. He
hops the bet.
The Josh McDaniels Jimmy G connection. I think it makes a lot of sense. And that kind of like. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have to, maybe they take AR at like 7 or whatever they're at. Yeah, 7. And then they trade for Jimmy G.
Oh, I guarantee we're going to have one of those what the fuck picks in the first top 5 that we're all just going to be like, what? And the best thing is, every year I always go on our boy Dan Mater's fantasy football show, and I always come on. And somehow right at that point, my Eagles do something that makes my jaw hit the floor. It doesn't matter when I go on. It always happens. So I'm going on at pick 15. So I think the Eagles are trading back to pick 14. They're going to pick something either I love or they're going to trade that pick for some ridiculous free agent, whether that's Derrick Henry or Jalen Ramsey or something, where I'm just going to freaking shit a brick. So I've officially, it's locked in. Bold prediction, Howie does something ridiculous at 14. But by the way, look for me on that show. I will be doing right now by myself, I think, but I think somebody else is going to do that time slot with me. But also, we'll do our mock drafts probably the week before. I only want to subject these two to one mock draft. I feel bad. Me and Kevin did 4 one year. That was ridiculous.
Real quick, NBC Sports reporting Broncos are shopping Cortland Sutton. Huh. So, there you go. That's another guy where it's like, was getting a lot of hype last year, around this time, later in the summer.
Aren't they shopping Jerry Jeudy too?
I haven't heard that. But, that's another guy for teams to get or at least look at or – maybe hit up the front office in Denver and say, what's the price, man? Because, that it's just tricky because it's like that dude, you were hearing that he was going to be really good. This was going to be a breakout season for him. Him and Russ, supposedly had a ton of chem coming in to last season. And then it was just like extremely disappointing. Extremely disappointing. I know a lot of people, took him in fantasy, obviously. And we're very disappointed with the production. I mean, he was trash. Like,
I think that was just, I don't know.
That was just chatter. That was just noise.
What the hell? I don't know what the hell is happening right now with like the Broncos. Like, because half of me thinks that like, oh, this was just like Nate Hackett. But I think Nate Hackett's going to light it up with whoever he gets over in New York, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or they get Jimmy G or whatever. I think they're going to light it up. I think Hackett's a good OC. I just don't think he can manage a team. Just like how Todd Bowles is a great coordinator, can't manage a team.
Right.
Rex Ryan, same thing.
Either way, man, the Broncos sold their soul, bro, and there's no coming back. We know that at least.
I think we're gonna do a hierarchy, almost like kind of like how the herd does. Every year is gonna be a new list. I'm gonna make a list, and we're gonna this is my attempt at stand-up comedy, where I'm gonna make a list. And it's gonna be funny, and unlike Nick Wright, my bias ain't gonna show that fast. God, I want to shave his head into a reverse mohawk. I can't stand him anymore. I used to love him back when, before, his Chiefs were good. I will say this before we get out of here. I really do not. I think they're in the same boat as the Saints, where they've sold their soul. And you know what the crazy thing is? Everyone's forgetting. AK is probably going to jail. Can we talk about this? Alvin Kamara's probably going to jail. That video is rough, man. It's almost as bad as Jackson Mahomes. Just trying to force him. And I'm just like...
And Mike Thomas is done, man. I mean, that dude is
I know, Mike Thomas... Oh, no, he's done talent-wise, but he's staying. He's staying.
Well, yeah. No, I just mean that he's never going to be on that same level as he was for about 2 years. So it's like you factor in that. You factor in... Kamara maybe like doing like legitimate like jail time.
Yeah. I'm calling. And you know what? You guys hearing about the freaking Raiders? Apparently now, Ruggs might beat the charge on a technicality.
That's wild, dude.
What the shit? Like this system. And listen, he's gonna have to live with that the rest of his life. But like, I guarantee somebody's gonna sign him within a week.
Oh
that
yeah.
That dude's got game-breaking speed.
Freak of nature.
Listen, I know. And all right. Well, that about wraps it up for us tonight. We went long because I think we're all decided to see each other again. We do have a show Thursday. I have not figured out guests yet, honestly, because I don't know what kind of mood I'm in yet. So in the off season, it's a lot easier to get guests because it's not as crazy. Look out for us getting guests on our Monday shows coming up soon. Also, we'll be doing some March Madness previews, doing some baseball previews because, baseball. And, because we've got a Diamondbacks, Astros, Yankees fan. All three teams have something to look forward to this season. My team's a sleeper team. We made it to the sleeper team level.
Hey, man, just know, coming from a lifelong Astros fan, man. I mean, it was like just growing up, dude, for probably the first 14 years of my life, year, right? 15 years of my life, dude. It was nothing but like
guys,
just hating my life. Like, so just know, Jared, that I've been in your position, and there are brighter days ahead.
I was in exactly your position because my team went to the World Series. My team won when I was a small child. Your team went to the World Series 05. How old were you?
So I would have been 4 or 5. But
yeah,
that's,
so I was
too
5
small for me to remember.
I was 5 when Arizona won the World Series. So I have very little memories of it, right? I remember small snippets. I like the Diamondbacks because one of my favorite animals was a rattlesnake. And I'm like, oh, it's perfect. And also Randy Johnson, my first baseball card. So it was just easy as hell. And I stuck with them. There was times where I root for the Yankees because the Diamondbacks were so bad it was impossible for me to watch as a little kid. But I really didn't care that much. I loved A-Rod. I'll be straight up. I loved A-Rod. I loved Nick Swisher, and I liked what was his fucking face? I liked Teixeira, Robbie. I liked all these guys, right? So they were the team I rooted for because they got all the players I liked. But now I just have a firm love for my Diamondbacks and a hatred for every other baseball team. So it works now. I root for teams in the playoffs, but let's be honest, unless from March 30th till October 5th, there's only one team I root for. No, 2 teams I root for. The Arizona Diamondbacks and anybody who plays the LA Dodgers. That's it.
Good call.
All right, boys and girls, that is the season premiere of Season 9 of the Corner Booth, the off-season, Round 4. All right, Round 5? Jesus, I'm losing track of time at this point. We appreciate y'all stopping by. Shout out to our amazing sponsors, YeetzOfficial.com, promo code CornerBooth for 10% off. Cannadips.com, promo code BELLYUP20 for 20% off. Just ordered a haul. And Manscaped, promo code BELLYUPFantasy for 20% off. I just got the beard trimmer. It's on the way because this is a travesty. God, I hate my wall trimmer. It's terrible. Boys and girls, enjoy your week. We will see you Thursday for a brand new Corner Booth pregame with lots of shenanigans as we get ready. It's just gonna be a fun time. So enjoy, folks. Please drink responsibly. It's a Monday, you hooligans, and enjoy.